I started learning how to program these machines just as I was out of school, and I used to actually be called in college saying, okay, listen, there's a complex job for programming and I'm going to need you to bunk or tell your lecturer that you need attendance and come to the factory. I would come to the factory.
That's what your dad telling you this?
This was my dad calling me up when I was in college. I would hand over the phone to my lecturer, and I was always interested in technology and engineering. So ever since I was a kid, I would go with dad to the factory in like a little Bob the Builder jumpsuit and like a plastic tool case and stuff like that. And it will tell my machine if there are any defects or any problems with any labels. My machine stops these labels on an inspection point, tells the operator, okay, this is a defect.
So any advice to someone who wants to start a business in engineering? So what would be your advice to them? Hi Aditya.
Hi.
Welcome to Ink Stories.
Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you. We just connected a while back and I'm glad that we could do this up knowing about your business.
I'm glad to be here too, man.
Thanks for that. So you represent Hayden Packaging. So can we just start with what is Hayden Packaging all about and what do you guys do?
So for Hayden Packaging, I'm the head of control systems and automation, and I work with my dad. My dad started this company around 40 years ago, somewhere around 1984. And at that time, he started it as a processor, and a processor of plastic material to manufacture plastic tubes. Like, you remember your ice candy tubes like Pepsi Cola? Your Pepsi tubes?
Yes.
So those Pepsi tubes were manufactured by my dad. He was one of the manufacturers of those.
You mean those flexible tubes?
Correct.
Which we used to suck.
Yes. So that's how he started the factory.
Okay. That was one of your first products?
That was the first thing. But the thing is, what happened is at that time, there wasn't a suitable machine that was available in the market for that. So dad ended up making his own machine for making these plastic tubes for himself, not to sell the machine, but to make the tubes to sell the tubes.
Okay.
And he started slowly getting inquiries for these machines, and that's how he became a machine manufacturer as well. Slowly from that as a transition.
I'm sorry if I haven't got that right. So your father was not a machine manufacturer?
No. He started first as a processor to make plastic tubes.
Okay.
And because at that time the machines weren't available or as good as he required, he made his own machine for his own requirement.
Lovely. Oh, that's how he got into machine manufacturing.
Yeah. So he started making those machines for other people when they started requesting them. And that's how the transition came into being a machine manufacturer. So Hayden Packaging, Hayden is high density polyethylene, so Hayden. So that's how the name came about with how dad envisioned it.
Wonderful.
And what happened is around a few years after that, around 86, 87 or so, dad saw a kind of a machine for printing plastic cups. And that's where he saw that this is a niche product. And we got into manufacturing these machines.
When you're saying plastic cups for the general public, what exactly do you mean? So, can you give some example?
We talk about disposable plastic cups like ice cream cups, yogurt cups.
Oh, so when you buy that scoop of ice cream, it is in a cup. You mean that kind of cups?
Like Quality Walls ice cream or like Amul ice cream, Amul Masti Dahi, Mother Dairy, and all these guys. Yeah, so those kind of cups, they are printed on machines that we make. Okay,
so your machines help to print these cups.
So what happens is, if for example, if I am a vendor that gives cups to Amul doesn't make and print their own cups. They'll just buy cups from different vendors and they will do the filling and everything on their own, and they'll take it from that. But they will have vendors for the plastic cups that they get. So for example, if I'm a vendor to Amul, then I will have 3 machines. One is a machine to make plastic sheets. That's that's called a sheet line. The second machine is a thermoforming machine, which will take the plastic sheet and convert it into a plastic cup.
Okay.
And then you will have the third machine, which is our machine, which will take the plain cups and it will print on that, and then the cup will be given to Amul, for example. So we come right at the end where we do the decoration on the cup, depending on the artwork that the vendor or Amul requires, and it is then sent to Amul, for example.
labels were used once upon a time, I believe, in this space. So why
Yeah.
labels are not used, and why do they print on the cup
So
directly?
labels, do you mean like like plastic labels or paper
Plastic labels, yeah. Instead
Yeah.
of printing on it, why
So
just
what- so
form
what
that
hap-
and put a label?
So what happens is the cost of the label and the cost of getting that decoration on the final cup is a lot more expensive than the printing process. What we do
Okay.
is a process called dry offset printing,
Okay.
which is a category of offset printing.
Okay.
And what happens is when you look at it at the end of the day, taking the investment cost, the labor cost, the electricity, the consumables like ink, the UV lamp, and all
So
of
you
that.
mean the cost of
The
printing
cost
on the
of
cup
printing.
is cheaper than putting a label on
Much
it?
cheaper. What happens
Oh,
is the
lovely.
cost of printing to one of our vendors comes to around maximum 10 to 15 paisa per cup, which is a very, very small amount compared to actually making the labels and applying the labels. So the direct the way people do decoration on cups is either dry offset printing or they have shrink sleeving. So they'll have like a shrink sleeve plastic material which is printed on a flexo or a rotogravure machine, on a flexographic machine, sorry, and then that will then be made into a round cylinder and then put onto a cup, and then heat will be applied to shrink it to that cup. So the most popular are shrink sleeving, dry offset printing, and also for a very premium segment, in mold labeling. So if you have cups that or containers that are made by the injection molding process, then what they do is they put a label inside the mold and then have the article injected and made with the mold sticking to that itself. But that is a very premium segment which you don't have the amount of productivity as thermoforming, and again the cost of decoration and making the containers much higher. But again, the people buying those also expect that kind of quality also.
Lovely. Even this is insightful for me as well. I've been in this industry for a while, but I never knew that these are the three segments. So
Yeah.
one is what you do with the dry offset process.
Correct.
Second is the shrink sleeve,
Yeah.
and third is the in mold labeling.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they all have their own place.
Yeah.
And they all have, you also have screen printing for these kind of applications. And every process has its own advantages, disadvantages in terms of how thick you can print, the quality of printing, the speed at which you can print, and obviously the cost of the printing.
So your
at the
kind
end
of
the day.
printing is high on speed or high on quality?
Both.
Both.
So what happens is it won't be as good as in mold labeling because of the inherent process, but we can still give very good photographic results on the kind of printing that we do. We go all the way up to 8 colors in our machine, our signature series, our top of the line machine. It's a 8 color machine which can print up to 400 cups in a minute. So you can get really, really good quality printing at a very fast speed as well. So yeah.
Interesting. So like you've been in this space for how many years now?
So Hayden started making the first 4 color machine, which is a basic machine, somewhere around 1987 or so.
Okay.
And then from there, it was introduced, like the market started developing from around that time.
So 37 years for Hayden, and how many years for you?
For me, it's been around, if you talk about when I got out of college and into Hayden, it's been around 11 years or so.
So there is a story before that as well?
Yeah. So I was it's my dad's factory. So, and I was always interested in technology and engineering. So ever since I was a kid, I would go with dad to the factory in like a little Bob the Builder jumpsuit and like a plastic tool case and stuff like that. And since before I could even remember, I used to either be like spending my free time in the factory doing some masti or the other, or just generally being around technology and engineering. I used to also love building Legos, play video games, and do a lot of technical stuff even at home. So I used to break apart stuff, put things together. I was very hands-on with a lot of stuff.
So your role in Hayden is more technical than business?
It is very technical.
It's
so the
primarily technical.
It's primarily technical. So what I look after is, so just before in school and college, when I used to like bunk and come to work, it's a very weird thing to say, but I used to actually bunk and come to work. And Dad used to teach me basics in terms of engineering drawing and basic engineering stuff that is used in a factory. So when I got into college, I had a very strong base of engineering drawing in general. And one of the thing is, we manufacture a lot of the precision components are manufactured in house.
Okay.
So one of the strengths of Haydn, actually the biggest strength of Haydn, is that the designing, the manufacturing, assembly, the electronics, the control systems, the wiring, everything is as in-house as possible.
Okay.
And that gives, first of all, keeps the intellectual property in our hands. The dependency on someone outside is reduced for the core requirements, and also it allows us to give the fastest customer support possible. So if a machine is having a downtime, the operators are calling up either me or someone, the head of the design department, who's Ravi, and stuff like that. So we are able to like give them support even at like midnight, or like we've actually given support to them at maybe like around midnight, post midnight, because all these machines are 24/7 running machines. So one of the main machines that is used for manufacturing anywhere is called a CNC machine. It's
Correct.
a machine. It's a magical machine where you put a block of material, you program it, and it'll hack out almost any shape that is possible with that process, make holes and everything. And it goes as simple as a small 3-axis machine to a 9-axis or sometimes even 32-axis, and I can go on and on about it. So that machine is a very important machine where it reduces the amount of labor and amount of time to manufacture a part, because otherwise you would have someone marking and then doing a punch and then doing separate drilling processes, separate milling processes. So all of that happens in one machine much faster and much more accurately. So I started learning how to program these machines just as I was out of school, and I used to actually be called in college saying, okay, listen, there's a complex job for programming and I'm going to need you to bunk or tell your lecturer that you need attendance and come to the factory. I would come to the factory.
That's what your dad telling you this?
This was my dad calling me up when I was in college. I would hand over the phone to my lecturer. Lecturer would say, okay, mark my attendance, and just start. He's like, okay, go.
So I mean, Aditya, you seem to be like technically very savvy.
Yeah.
The last time I met you in your office, I could get that vibe while sitting in your cabin. But tell me now, you are like the beacon of the new generation, who's joining dad's business.
Can I backtrack for just a second?
Yes, please.
I'll just complete my role in the factory.
Okay.
So basically, I started with CNC programming and doing more complex CNC programming. Then after that, we started. The moment I joined the factory, we were depending on someone outside for doing the electrical programming, the electronics programming for the control panels. So basically, every machine will have a control panel which will tell the motors, solenoids, cylinders, and everything what they're supposed to do for the process to happen. And many of these have advanced automation devices like PLCs, servo drives, touchscreens, and all of that, which you require programming according to how the process is. So we should depend on someone else for that. And that is like, this is a place where we want to reduce dependency very quickly. So I started getting into that. So my main role is into control automation technology. So all the automation of our machines and after sales of the control panels is something I look after. And after that, I also supervise and optimize the CNC machining and other departments wherever possible.
Dad, dude, I'm telling you, your competition will want to hire you. You kind of are like a ace in your place. But just in the interest of time, what I was asking is, you are like this new generation who's joined dad's business, and there are so many companies where the parents find it difficult, and they have an industrial or engineering business, and they have their children wanting to come to the business. Not everyone has a technical bent.
Right.
So what would be your advice? How should they handle things?
So the thing is, first of all, know if you're a technical person or a marketing person and focus on that. If, like me, you're a technical person, then get hands-on as much as you can from the most basic grassroots level. So the thing is, when I did join the factory, I started to a point where dad would also have me be a helper to a lot of the fitters and people doing the assembly work. And I would work hands-on and help them out. And it kind of got me to understand how the workers do the work, how it's done in a particular way, or if it could be optimized more. It gives me the background to be able to know, okay, if someone is doing it as fast as possible, or if there can be a better way of doing it and stuff
So
like
you
that.
basically started from scratch.
Start from scratch. And
Yeah.
also,
So if you have a technical bent, pick something on the technical side. Start from scratch. If you have a marketing bent, then go in that direction.
Yeah. So marketing wise, I can't say too much because I'm not.
So how do you? I mean, now that at some point in time you get the mantle and the entire thing is in your hand. So how are you planning to like work around that in terms, because you are a technical guy, you handle things very well there.
Yeah.
So how are you planning to handle the marketing side?
So marketing wise, okay, we also manufacture another vertical of machines. It is for the narrow web industry. What happens is, when you have people manufacturing labels, they will manufacture, for example, a whole row of labels, maybe around anywhere from 2 ups to maybe 10 ups, 20 ups and stuff. And we have a machine that will basically inspect those labels. So if you have a pharmaceutical label, it will have very small text which has to be precise and say, okay, you have a dosage of 1.2 milligrams. If that point is missing, it becomes 12 milligrams, which is an issue.
Oh, okay.
So what happens?
So this is like a scanner.
It's a scanner. So there's a very specialized camera and inspection system that the customer will select depending on what he wants in the industry, and that will sit on top of our machine. It will inspect all the way up to maybe almost something as small as a particle of dust, and it's very, very precise. And it will tell my machine if there are any defects or any problems with any labels. My machine stops these labels on an inspection point, tells the operator, okay, this is a defect. He will remove that, change it. It's called doctoring. So he'll doctor the label, and he press the start button. It goes ahead. And because there are multiple labels, my machine will cut them into single rows and wind single rolls of single labels. So that machine is called a slitter rewinder with inspection. And that department, that is left to me in terms of sales as well. We have a very, very competent person who's taking care of our marketing. So he's given that to me in terms of, okay, I liaison with him, I discuss with him, and I have to just come to dad with the final requirements. Okay, saying that, okay, these are the prices that I'm looking to finalize and stuff like that. What do you think? Or do you have a better idea? Or should I be going more aggressive, or should I be going softer? And also technically for a lot of technical things of the machine, and also after sales of the machine, that whole department is given to me as much as possible. And hopefully that gives me more experience to like take bigger challenges ahead. But at the moment, I can see him grooming me little by little by involving me in more management decisions and things like that. And he's always spoken to me in terms of, okay, what he's thinking in terms of a decision towards any action he's taking, or he's always kept his mind, as in spoken aloud about it, so I kind of understand his.
So you are training yourself to get into the business side as well, as much as possible.
A little bit, but it's mainly dad grooming me.
Sure.
And me following along and seeing what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and kind of like figure out how he's doing it in a certain way.
Sure. So if for your advice, I mean, you've been running this business with dad for the last 12 years, if I'm not wrong. So any advice to someone who wants to start a business in engineering? So what would be your advice to them?
So if you're out of college, intern, get a job, get familiar with how things work technically, but also when you specifically work in a smaller company, because you'll be able to see a lot of things happening at the same time. It's not departmentalized where you can't go into other departments. Pay attention to how people are sourcing material, where they're sourcing them from, who are their vendors, how things work from the ground up, where, okay, if that company is manufacturing something, where do they get the raw material and how do they process it from there to finished products. If it's a processing thing, like get into how the operations are happening, what parameters are being used, how certain things are being done, and not just the main focus being what the company is doing, but in general how every person plays a role, even from the lowest point up to higher, and try to work from that point, from the lowest point to up as well, to get again hands-on experience from whatever you can.
Try and learn as much as you can.
Yeah, because one of the main things that dad has also put into my head is something we follow on a very regular basis, like key components or very important things we always do and learn ourselves, get the skill set and the information ourselves, and then we can have the power to, for example, train someone to bring them up to that level, or we can know how things can be done, or at what efficiency something can be done, if someone is making a fool out of us, or if we can train them to make it faster. So it comes like that. For example, even the CNC machines we do. One of my mentors, who's an ex-student of Dad's, he told us before buying a CNC machine that you get dependent on an operator and a programmer, and that is where things basically become an issue. So we're like, okay, theek hai, Dad is like, can we learn how to program? He's like, yeah. He's like, can we learn how to operate the machine? He's like, yeah. So we learned that, and because of that, we don't depend on people who are CNC operators too much. We have also trained basic helpers to become CNC operators. And when we don't have operators for any reason, we have stood on the machines ourselves and run them ourselves. So basically, like, come to a point where you're supervising people, but then do that work before you come to a point of supervising.
We have this generation where the kids don't want to really make their hands dirty, and they feel that we need to delegate and we need to get things done from others. So you're talking about a school of thought or an ideology where you have to be competent enough to run all the machines. So how do you?
Yeah, I'm not saying go and run every single machine in your shop, but the ones that are critical, at least learn how they function, how they work. If on a technical way, if you're talking about a technical person, like, work on it, or stand on the machines to understand how something works, or in general as a principle, understand or be able to use a machine.
But won't that make us get sucked into the business, because we'll always be far better than any of the operators? So won't there be a tendency of us to get pulled inside?
No, you'll never be better than an operator until you know how to operate something. For example, if you take a basic lathe machine, if I haven't used a lathe machine, I've just studied it in books. I'm never going to be better than an operator who's had experience and worked on it for so many years. So once you get a base,
so you don't face the dilemma of being sucked into the operational part.
No, what happens is you have to build your own experience and know-how of how something works by working on it hands-on, and then get out of it and then train other people to do it and stuff like that.
At least you know what are the problems and how to solve them as and when they come.
Always. So
while hiring people in Hayden, so like I'm getting to the next question.
Yeah.
So how do you choose what are the kind of skill sets that you look for in the next generation?
So the thing is, first of all, people coming out of college, they don't have any practical experience.
True.
So we don't expect any of that from them. And also the technical teaching that has been done, it's so technical and so theoretical, and it's always done in the point that they just do it to get done with an exam. They don't retain much of it, or it's not practically useful to us in any way on a broad scope. We just look for someone who is talented and someone who can adapt and pick things up well, and willingness to learn and sincerity. That's how it is, because we have the capability of training up someone who's a helper or a sweeper in our factory all the way to making them a CNC programmer, which is a very, very big jump in terms of skill set. But also, I'll give you an example of the person who does the machine designing for us. This person, Mr. Ravindra Pujari, he's the main designer of our factory, of the machines that we make. And he started from very humble beginnings. He was an operator for a printing machine in Times of India, and he came to work for Dad as a helper, as a very, very basic helper.
Okay.
And at that time, Dad saw that he has talent and he has the capacity to learn and basically can become a better engineer. So he ended up training him and grooming him to a point that today he's designing machines that are on par with international machines. Like the machines that we make, the cups that are printed on our machines are as good as the cups that are printed on European machines.
Lovely. So what I could gather is, education is not a limiting factor as long as you have the interest and inclination.
Absolutely.
You can be groomed, and especially working for SMEs, you have that ability to move up the hierarchy much faster.
Because what happens is when you look at like bigger companies, they'll say, okay man, I'm going to hire you if you have so and so
experience. You come out from such and such college.
Over here we don't care about that. We just care that you have the capacity to learn and take things ahead. Yeah.
Great. So have you faced challenges in the last 12 years of being a part of the business, or like things have been rosy for you.
So if you talk about business challenges,
Business challenges. I mean, yeah.
So it came to a point where just around a few years before COVID, things were settling down well. We were doing well in business and stuff. And what happened is the plastic ban came and changed a lot of things and brought a lot of uncertainty in the whole market. And because of that plastic ban, it wasn't more so in terms of if you look at the cups that are printed on our machines, they are more for the dairy and for food and stuff where it is packaged and there's no alternative for that. But if you look at other competitors who make lower grade machines, those are more for single time things for like party cups and things like that, which got banned. And also the customers, they have maybe 50% or more of their work for single use plastics, which got banned. And the other is the kind of plastic cups that are made on printed on our machines for institutional companies like your dairies and things like that, where you can't have a replacement for that.
So you were caught on the wrong side.
We were caught on the wrong side, but what happens is the products printed on our machines, mostly they weren't outright banned, but because everything else was banned,
which is similar,
and there was no clarity from the government. Correct. Saying that this is not banned, but this is banned, but this is not banned, which is why it brought a lot of uncertainty and a lot of people being scared of either
investments and scaling up.
Yeah, we had orders that got cancelled. We had a lot of uncertainty in the market. And again, if there was clarity in terms of these categories and these particular products are not banned and we will not ban them, then things wouldn't be as bad. So that was a major issue that came up.
So how did you maneuver that kind of a situation?
So we just
experience sharing?
Us personally, we know that the kind of products, most of the products that are printed on our machines, because our machines are cater to higher quality and higher quality markets, there's no replacement for what it is. You can't replace dahi cups with a paper cup. You can't replace ice cream cups with a paper cup, because first of all, you need to put a barrier between the paper and the product. You need things to consider like shelf life, packaging and everything, but also the amount of resources you use for paper for that is a lot more than plastic. And what happens is our customers just needed clarity in terms of this is not, we're not going to touch this. And what they did is they had to do their work in terms of getting to the government and getting clarity from them and assurances from them saying that this is going to be alright. We just had to wait it out till things got sorted in that way.
So a lot of patience.
But we again had to believe that these things are going to go ahead, because again there's no direct substitute for it. So there's nothing going to come and kill us over there. Just a temporary.
But then the sheer what should I say? The uncertainty about should I do this or should I not? Should I expand? Should I not? Should I scale up? Should I not?
Yeah. So basically that went so hard that again we lost quite a bit of orders and we had to just basically wait till things got a little better.
So how are they today? What is the current situation?
What happened is we got that done with, saw maybe a little bit of growth, a little bit of clarity, but just before things could materialize from there, then COVID hit. And then again, because of COVID, with how everyone got affected by COVID, we were in the same situation.
But then during COVID, I think the food business and you cater primarily to food, so it would have...
that was there. But again, what happened is, if you talk about containers and stuff, again, a lot of them were being done by screen printing or by the existing facilities of printing and everything that people already had. And because everyone was affected so badly, I guess people were just like continuing with what they had at that point of time.
Without some major expansion.
Without any major expansions. If you talk about things like sanitizer bottles or blow molding and things like that, yes, there were a lot of business opportunities there. But our particular segment, it wasn't growth. It was more like, everyone's affected by it. You just have to sit quiet and deal with it. It was a point where, we opened the factory maybe a few months after COVID hit, after the first lockdown. And because we didn't have orders, we just had maybe a couple of export orders to finish off. But we had to retain our workers and still pay them. We decided to pay them from our own pockets just to retain them, because they had
these are all skilled workers.
No, these are these are workers that have basically gotten skills from required for making our machines
True.
while working on the job.
True.
So rather than letting go of them and later on when things pick up have someone brought in and then teach them, we decided it was a better option of continuing their salaries just to have them come and sit in the factory without much work. So then when things do start up again, then they
So
continue.
you're ready for that.
We're ready for it. Yeah.
So Aditya, what's the kind of legacy that you have in mind for Hayden? What would you want the company to be remembered as?
So right now we're known for the quality and for the after sales that we have, and it is known that okay, if you want the best printing machine as an Indian customer, then you don't look anywhere else but Hayden. And because the cost and performance balance that we give, for example, our machines perform as good as European machines, but they are 1/4 the price. And our competitors who make the same machines, they aren't close to our quality at all, to the point that they are half of our price. So we are at a very good point where okay, we don't manufacture a lot of machines, but we manufacture machines to the point that okay, you want good quality, you come to us. And that legacy and that kind of quality will always be in whatever we manufacture, be it our printing machines, the slitter rewinder machines, the inspection machines. We hope to continue this, to keep this recognition of the brand, saying that okay, when you want quality, look at us, and expand that in terms of maybe some more projects in terms of taking dry offset to other products. Or we also have a blow molding machine which is in R&D. So maybe seeing how that goes ahead as well. So legacy would be just to continue the name we have,
the good
and
work that
grow.
you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks. Moving towards the last two questions, these are more for us. And before that, I would like to thank you for your wonderful insights about Hayden Packaging and how you've been able to run this business and scale this business over the last 37 years, if I'm not wrong, 1987 till 24.
84, yeah, 40 years.
Yeah, 37, 40 years. Yeah, lovely. So, yeah, the last two questions. One is, we got your reference from Nitin ji of Numex. So, like that, we generally ask our guests if they have any reference for us whom we could speak to be our guests in the future. You have any people in mind that you would like to suggest who could be a guest in the future?
So, if you talking about someone who is my age,
it could be anyone, yeah.
And in the packaging industry, one person comes into mind, Mr. Henil Darod. He was in my college. We both came out from, we both passed out from Bhagubai Polytechnic, doing our plastics engineering. He joined his father's business just after college. I think he probably did his degree or just after that. And they are one of the biggest manufacturers of blow molded IBM bottles, so injection blow molded bottles. They're one of the biggest processors in India.
Nice.
So if you want, I can.
Yes, please.
I can hook you up.
That would be nice. Please do give me his connect. And you've done this podcast with us. We've been doing this for a while now. So what's your experience after doing it? What do you think? And
it was nice. It was a good experience. It's the first time I'm on a podcast. But it's nice to talk about what we've been doing so far and take a look back and say, okay, this is where we've been. This is where we are right now. Hopefully, we get to some place where we expect to be in the next 10 years or so.
Yeah, right. I mean, and it's a story that remains for generations, at least as long as YouTube is up and running.
Absolutely.
So this story can always be referred by your family, your friends, your competitors, your future employees. What is the kind of organization that we are getting into?
Yeah,
I think that's also
it's
added advantage.
Yeah, it's for Hayden. It's always been like we treat everyone like family and we strive for quality. That's just how it is.
Great, Aditya. Yeah. Thanks for your time. I appreciate. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.